Hey, day 9. Little bit later today. Had a couple of Wi-Fi issues when I arrived. So yeah, just getting started. Can't promise I won't be interrupted at some point, but we'll see how we get on. So I'm just going to dive in. Try and keep this under 10 minutes. I want to talk to you about discomfort and the importance of being able to be in some discomfort as we start to kind of build our capacity. And I think it's really important to remember and to tune into, why do we do this work? We do this work because we feel stuck and we want to change. And we want to change how we cope, our coping mechanisms that we've had for many, many years, perhaps making us quite reactionary, struggling with, certain situations, certain relationships. So we feel stuck and we want things to be different. And so we feel motivated for change. But often what happens is, we, in order to move through any kind of change, there has to be some discomfort. And that isn't easy. And kind of, the minute that there's challenge and things become uncomfortable, what we often do is go, oh, I don't think I'm cut out for this. I think this is too much for me. And we stop, and to use an analogy of, of even exercise, if you think about when you embark on New Year's resolutions, when you embark on a new regime of fitness, it's no surprise that almost, a week, 2 weeks into a new regime, a lot of people stop because it gets hard. We start to ache a little bit. We start to struggle, with that change to our routine. And it's exactly the same thing when we're changing our approach to how we take care of ourselves. And we have to go through some discomfort in order to break through the other side. Now, just, I want to be really clear that I'm not suggesting that we kind of expose ourselves and unearth really deeply traumatic, memories, events, situations in our life. I'm not talking about being in discomfort in that way. One thing that really, really matters to me in my work is safety and making sure that people feel safe and they are ready to go to those, go to the places that they might need to go to in order to move forward. But we also, we need to kind of strike that balance with, okay, that's where we probably need some expert support and help. However, without that expert support and help, we could all challenge ourselves a little bit to be in the discomfort of our feelings. And, reminding ourselves that, if we do that, then something can change, something can shift. Now, discomfort, uncomfortable feelings are hard because it might be that there's some unfamiliar feelings that come up for us. And also, it might be that there's some really familiar feelings that come up for us. And, oh my God, I felt this before. I felt this sadness. I felt this rage. And so we shut it down. And, I've been kind of building a picture for you about how we can really start to make sustainable change. And I've spoken to you about how we need to raise our awareness around what we're feeling and giving ourselves permission to feel. So, and becoming more emotionally literate. So, kind of starting to notice what's going on for me right now. I'm aware of some feelings. I'm going to give myself permission. But what are they? Specifically, what are they? And so the next step on from that is allowing them to be there. And that's where this sitting in discomfort piece really comes in. And so I want to propose this idea to you that all parts of us are welcome. And we're not used to living that way. We're very much used to, I don't want to feel angry. I don't want to feel sad. I don't want to feel rage. So therefore I'm going to ignore it. I'm going to brush it under the carpet. I'm going to pretend it doesn't exist. And in the short term, that might work. But in the long term, it doesn't. These things will come back and bite you on the behind at some point. And so that's why it is really, really important that we learn to be in the discomfort. And actually, ultimately, by being in the discomfort, we learn to process. And that's really what we're looking to do. Being in the discomfort does not mean that we will become overwhelmed by the feeling. In fact, quite the opposite. There's some science, and I'll have to try and dig out where it comes from, but I've heard this a number of times, that actually an emotion or a feeling only takes about 90 seconds to actually pass us by, to pass through us, if you like. But what we do as individuals is we kind of hook on to something. So if you imagine, you're on the platform and the train comes in, the sadness train comes in, and you're like, oh, actually, I'm going to get on that train. So we get on the train and then we run down the track with it for however many stops. And so it becomes a longer term thing. Whereas if we're able to allow it to be there without identifying with it, being curious about it, giving ourselves permission, and being in the discomfort of it, just knowing that it is going to be uncomfortable to be in that feeling temporarily. And when I say temporarily, that doesn't mean it's going to be done in 90 seconds. I am well aware that some of these feelings, depending on what you've got going on in your life, may last a hell of a lot longer than that. But denying them and avoiding the discomfort is not helpful in the long term. And so what do we do to avoid discomfort? We get our phones out and we scroll, we mindlessly scroll. We might go and have a drink. We might go shopping. We might gossip with people. We might start an argument with somebody. And I guess what I'm trying to demonstrate is that often, to avoid discomfort, we will engage in potentially unhealthy, harmful behaviours that are an avoidance tactic, to prevent us from feeling and being in the discomfort, because we want a dopamine hit. We just want to feel good in the moment. We don't want to feel the discomfort of that, what we might call negative feeling. And actually, similarly, we can do the same with the positive feelings too. I can really struggle with experiencing joy, and I don't mean happiness. I mean, that real ecstatic joy when you just feel completely like, oh my God, like things could not be better. I struggle with that from time to time, because what happens is the fear comes in and says, this isn't going to last, is it? And so I don't allow it to be there. I shut it down and I sabotage myself, and my mind will go to a dark place to remind me of something terrible, to kind of shut it down. And I'll give you an example. So we're now away, we're in Devon, and I have booked for me and my daughter, and possibly my son, depending on how he feels, a surf lesson on Monday afternoon. Now, I came away and did some surfing back in the end of June, beginning of July, and I absolutely loved it. Like, it's on, there's a picture on my grid actually of me walking out of the surf with my surfboard, and it was just phenomenal. And I'm smiling because I felt pure joy, like it was magic. And so I'd said to my kids, do you want to have a go with me? And I don't know, a bit nervous. And I said, that's fine, we can book a lesson and you can choose. And I booked a lesson yesterday, and then last night kind of questioning myself, like, is it too much for them? Am I being irresponsible by putting them in a potentially dangerous situation in the water and things like that? And it's like, this is what our minds do. Like, they will find ways to shut us down and kind of squash the feelings, and distract us, and all those things. So it does actually work both ends of the spectrum, both the positive and the negative. We're probably more familiar with trying to distract ourselves from feeling challenging emotions, like we don't want to feel angry, sad, bored. So we're more used to finding ways to get the dopamine hit and to feel good. And and this is the thing with kids, kids just want to be entertained all the time. And actually, teaching kids that it's okay to be bored can be really helpful. And it's the same for us. So I want you to think about this, this idea of, can I allow discomfort? Can I be in some discomfort? And we want to stretch ourselves, because what we're doing is essentially building our capacity to hold ourselves through life, okay? Both the good and the bad. And in order to do that, we're building resilience, we're building muscles. And I keep saying this pretty much every session, and I'm using this, we're building muscles. But in order to do that, we have to stretch ourselves. And we have, if you think about kind of a comfort zone that we sit in regularly, things are easy, we don't push ourselves too much. And then we have kind of sitting around the comfort zone is a learning zone. So that's where it feels a little bit stretchy, a little bit more challenging, not necessarily comfortable, but like, there's edge. There's some edge. And then around so we've got comfort zone, learning zone, and then around that learning zone is kind of panic zone, which is too much challenge. So that might be, where you perhaps you go into talking about something that maybe is traumatic for you, really deeply rooted core memory that without kind of professional support or the support of someone that's really able to hold the space for you is too much, and we go into panic. So I'm looking for you to kind of think about getting yourself into the learning zone where you meet your edge a little bit, okay, but you're not pushing yourself so much that it feels overwhelming and that you're going to drown in things, okay? So I want you to think about what are the ways that you might be sitting in comfort a lot. How are you avoiding? And here's the key: look for when you avoid feeling discomfort. And that's really what I want you to take away from the session today. Is I want you to start, and tomorrow we'll do an exercise that will help you sit in the discomfort. But the main takeaway from today's video is, where are you avoiding discomfort? So, for example, are you refusing to sit down and rest? Because if you refuse to sit down and rest, you have to start thinking about things. Okay, a lot of us are really guilty of this. Got to keep busy, got to keep doing things all the time, because we know if we sit still, the thoughts are going to come up. So looking for where you're finding jobs to do all the time, you're overworking, you are mindlessly scrolling on your phone. Other ways that you might numb out. So the ways that we numb out: eating, shopping, gossiping, sleeping. When we're doing anything kind of as an avoidance tactic for being in discomfort, there is an invitation for you right there to maybe be in the discomfort. So here would be a little starter for you. Sit down, make a cup of tea, and just sit down for 10 minutes and see how you find it. No TV, no phone, nothing. Just being in your own company. And if that fills you with dread, you're not alone. But I want you just to give it a go and just allow that discomfort to be there and see what you feel, see what you notice, see what comes up for you. That is a starter for you. Tomorrow I'm going to give you a little bit more of an actual practice that you can use to then kind of meet your edge and get more into that learning zone and pushing out of the comfort zone. But yeah, first thing today, notice where you're avoiding discomfort, and grab a cuppa or a drink of choice. I wouldn't drink alcohol because that can be an avoidance tactic too. Save that for after if that's what you want to do, and just sit for 10 minutes. No distractions, no phone, no TV, no conversation, and just see what comes up for you. And I'd really love to know, pop in the comments or drop me an email. I'd really want to hear your feedback on this. I'm loving the messages I've been getting so far. It's fantastic. You're doing really well. But yeah, let me know your feedback and let me know how you find it. And see if you can just allow that discomfort to be there. You're going to be okay. Breathe through it. It's going to be fine. Notice how you feel after that. Okay, I'll be back tomorrow with a practice. I'm not sure what time yet, but I will be back tomorrow. Have a lovely evening and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.